I'm Eric Novak. You know, automakers continue to put their development teams full bore into the continued evolution and development of more crossovers and SUVs. It seems that's where everybody is going. But we can't forget that there still are other segments in the automotive marketplace that still have a reasonable demand. Sedans seem to be falling by the wayside, especially if you get into luxury or full-size sedans, but that doesn't mean there isn't appeal and customers willing to buy them. We know in the full-size luxury sedans, some of the major nameplates like Mercedes and their G-Class or BMW 5 Series, you can look at Cadillac CTS, but there's other players in the market too that probably don't get the attention that they deserve. Acura has been involved in the full-size sedans since it basically entered North America in the early 90s. You might remember the Legend. The Legend had its day, and eventually it morphed into what was next the RL. And the RL really didn't do very well at all because it was kind of a bland and oft-forgotten entrant in this segment. In 2014, the RL became the RLX, and it became a sport hybrid. It also languished. It hasn't sold very well at all, not because it was not a good car, but because it was kind of boring and being overshadowed by bigger, more popular, well-known nameplates. Well, for 2018, Acura has done a refresh on this RLX, and it's the 2018 Acura RLX Sport Hybrid that I'm featuring on this review. So you know that old cliche, you never judge a book by its cover. Well, people always do, and that was probably one of the problems that Acura had with the RLX before. The cover was, well, really uninspiring. With this mid-model refresh, though, they've really tried to maybe up and make a cover a little more exciting. And what they've done is most notable in the front. The biggest change you'll see is the redesign of the front grille. Acura is moving towards this, what they call the diamond pentagon grille, and I've always liked it. I think it's a really good looking front. We've seen it on the refreshed NDX as well as on the TLX, especially the A-spec trim packaging. It looks really quite nice. When combined with the jewel eye headlights, it creates a pretty impressive front end. In addition to that, they've redesigned the front hood, and it's got some exciting rib lines to it that make it look aerodynamic and, well, more aggressive, which is probably something they really needed to do. There's hybrid badging on it, of course, because it is a hybrid, and they've also completely redesigned the back end. They've got an all-new LED taillight design. There are dual exhausts, and there's a rear diffuser on the back, sort of that sort of performance element to it. Let's not forget that next to the NSX, this is the most powerful vehicle in Acura's lineup. So overall, if you judge a book by its cover, well, the cover has gotten a lot better. But let's not forget, it's also what's inside that counts. So indeed it is what's inside that counts when you're judging an overall vehicle, and here in the refreshed RLX, it's probably a mix of good and bad. What's good is there's a sort of an improvement in the overall touches and the fit and finish, as well as these front seats. I really like these new Napa leather seats. They're well contoured and very comfortable. I'd have no difficulty going on a long drive while sitting in these things. But what's not so great is some of the other stuff. The front instrument cluster here that I have to deal with, it's the old round gauges. They're clear. They're easy to read. That's not a problem. But I think what we're seeing now with the competition is getting into the LCD screens. The TFT display has a lot more versatility in terms of what information you can have in front of you. But probably the biggest area where improvement is needed is with this infotainment system. 4 years ago, it was okay. 4 years later, it's really fallen behind. The touchscreen is not as intuitive as I would like it to be. And this two-screen system, I mean, I like having your map showing all the time, but it just seems to lag behind what else is out there. And I really think Acura could do themselves a big favor by improving the system in the next generation of this car. What is good, though, is if you get into the Elite trim, the Krell industry exclusive sound system in here is really one of the better ones. Now, I come from radio originally. I started my career 28 years ago in radio, and I've always been a sucker for a good built-in sound system, and this Krell one really is one of the better ones. There's a great rich sound to it. You know, it's not too punchy, not a lot of distortion, really great sound and range. It's if you're directly comparing this to the Lexus GS450, that Mark Levinson system in there, I don't think matches up to this one. I would put this Krell system on par with what you see in Volvo with their Bowers and Wilkins. It's even something like Lincoln's Revell system, even with Genesis and their Lexicon. Those are some of the best systems out there, and this one matches up with it as well. So it's fun to drive, it's comfortable to drive. You're just going to be a little bit dated on the technology on the inside of the RLX. You know, the benefit of hybrids, of course, is improved fuel economy, but there can be a trade-off with reduced cargo space because you got to put the battery somewhere. Now, the newer hybrids on the market are doing much better at placing batteries, say, on the floorboards or low to not impede upon cargo space. But this RLX is a 4-year-old design, and that's not really the case here. The battery placement behind the second row seats has really reduced the cargo space you'd expect here. In fact, there's only about 12 cubic feet of cargo room in a trunk, and for a vehicle of this size, it really is less than you would expect. Not a lot of room for luggage. I mean, I've got my camera bag, and hey, we've got this really cool hockey stick scraper or something in there, but you're not getting a lot of other stuff inside. If the main competitor, you could say the most apples to apples comparison, is the Lexus GS450H, well, that one has about 13 cubic feet of space in its trunk, so it's less than here. So hybrids, great for fuel economy, but in this case, not so good for storage. So if you're buying a full-size sedan, it's probably because you want interior space. And this Acura RLX has that. There's 102 cubic feet of interior passenger volume, and it does feel quite spacious even here in the second row. It even offers almost 39 inches of legroom for passengers in the back, so if you're traveling with adults, it should be no problem. I would say, though, that it is a problem if you had 3 adults in the back, because this middle hump is going to make it difficult. Whoever's in the middle seat is going to have to straddle, so maybe a good spot for a child, but maybe not for 3 adults here. But there's some other nice little appointments in the back seat. You got this kind of funky little dual system sunshade here. There's even on the Elite trim a power sunshade in the back if the sun is getting too bright, but it certainly is a comfortable and spacious ride inside the second row of the RLX. So conventional wisdom was always that if you're driving a hybrid, you're going to get a less than inspiring experience behind the wheel. And that, in this case, with the RLX, is really not true, because it has a very unique 3-motor hybrid system, which is actually the same technology, let's not forget, that is found in the NSX Supercar. And so what you have here is a system where there's a 3.5-liter V6 engine up front. It's giving you 310 horsepower by itself. It's paired to an electric motor up front, but you also have 2 electric motors driving each of the 2 rear wheels, and they work in combination with each other for a greater handling experience overall. The computer on board this vehicle will detect if you are in a situation, if you are having to move left and right and turn the wheels, and if in a situation where if you need to say turn to the right, for example, the torque, the computer will provide increased torque to the outside wheel and less on the inside, allowing for a more inspired basic turn. It's better handling. I haven't been on windy roads in this week, but I have felt that, say, when I've been going to do an on-ramp on a highway where, for example, you're taking a long sweeping right-hand turn kind of experience, and I have definitely felt the added torque and the benefit of that. It really is a nice ride, and I think that's one of the true benefits of this vehicle, is that it's fun to drive. I mean, it's a comfortable ride. It certainly has that element of a luxury high-end sort of sedan, but it's also pretty inspired, and I will give it that. This 3-motor system, it's proprietary. It's also found in a supercar. Actually, it's the same system found on the new MDX hybrid as well, but in all iterations, it works really well and it's fun to drive. Looking at fuel economy, the 2018 RLX Sport Hybrid has a posted fuel economy rating of 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers. That's basically 28 US miles per gallon. That's okay. I mean, obviously there are hybrids that are better than this for fuel economy, but you also have to factor in that this is a powerful vehicle. It's 380 horsepower almost, so that comes with probably a little bit higher fuel economy than, say, a little Prius or something like that. Comparing that, say, to the Lexus, the 450 GS 450h, this is a bit less fuel efficient, but it's also more powerful. Now, I will say, from observing my own driving, I've been in this pretty much almost a week, and I've driven about 450 kilometers, a good mix, a healthy mix of city and highway driving, and I'm doing better than the posted limit. I'm actually been averaging for the most of the week around 8, even a little bit better than 8 liters per 100 kilometers, which would put me more to 30 US miles per gallon from 28. So take those fuel economy numbers for what they are. It's okay for the power, but I mean, it's not the most fuel efficient ride you'll ever have. I've always felt the Acura RLX doesn't get the credit or recognition it deserves. And after this 2018 mid-model refresh, I feel even more that way. The exterior improvements make this a pretty attractive looking car, certainly better than it used to be. And on the inside, there's some great new seats. The Napa leather is nice. That Krell system and the top and elite package is really enjoyable. And overall, it's a decent package combined. It's not perfect, of course. They really need to fix and get rid of that infotainment system. Technology and their competition is going well beyond what you see here, so that's something they should make a priority. But overall, it's a nice combination that more people should be paying attention to. Now, I know if you're probably a European sedan fan, if you're really leaning towards Mercedes or BMW, I'm probably not going to convince you to consider this RLX. But if you're someone who's looked at Lexus in the past or Infiniti, give this one a test drive. I think you might be surprised by it, and you'll be considering a vehicle you might not have thought about in the past. I've enjoyed my time in this vehicle, and I've enjoyed putting this review together for you. But that's it for now. I'm Eric Novak. Thanks for watching. There's plenty of ways for you to keep connected with me, so check out some of my social media links, suggested videos, and I'd really love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel.